So this is the Honda CR-V HEV RS Hybrid. It costs $2,605,000. Is it even still worth considering? Let's find out. Welcome to the garage on Ride By. You know, ngayon, if you're shopping for a hybrid or an electric vehicle, marami ka na talaga mga options from all of the brands, from Japan, from Korea, from China, of course, and nagkakalabanan na talaga sa presyo. But with Honda, they have actually taken a different approach with the CR-V. This is the latest generation and it is a hybrid with the RS trim. And one thing that will really catch your attention, aside from the styling, of course, is the price tag, $2,605,000. If you'll go to the website, we don't know if it's actually maybe a bit lower kung may mga promo, but we'll assume that it's $2,600,000. Honestly, that's a lot of money for right now for a Honda CR-V, especially kung kagaya ko, you grew up with the CR-V as in your formative years. I've driven all generations of the CR-V, even during 1997 by 1998, when it was a very small, it was a small crossover nung nauso yung panahon ng mga tinatawag nilang soft roaders. And if you remember, if you're that old, the cars, the SUVs at the time were, the new generation sport utilities at the time were based on compact cars. So you had the Toyota RAV4, you had the CR-V, you had the Suzuki Vitara. The Suzuki Vitara of those three was the only one that had a ladder frame suspension, a ladder frame chassis, sorry. The CR-V was based on basically a Civic platform. So it had Civic engine or some parts from the Accord also. And ang kanyang all-wheel drive system was called real-time four-wheel drive, which wasn't really a four-wheel drive system when you think about it, because it was mostly driving the front wheels, and then pag na-detect niya na dumudulas sa likod, only then would power be transferred to the back. This was very unlike Subaru system, which is basically full-time all-wheel drive, or even Toyota's system. But I guess Honda realized that that's such a system, the real-time, was both cost-effective, and most people don't actually go off-road frequently anyway, so the real-time system was stuck in the CR-V through countless generations. But you'll be surprised that for this one, with a hybrid, it is not all-wheel drive. It is only strictly front-wheel drive. However, if you insist that you need an all-wheel drive CR-V, they still have a variant. I believe it is a 7-seater listed in the website. But for now, we're talking about this one. And although it is strictly front-wheel drive, it has a very fascinating and quite an advanced drivetrain. So it pairs a gasoline engine with a dual-motor electric system. Yes, it has two electric motors. It has a generator and it has a traction motor. So the gasoline engine is an Atkinson cycle. It's VTEC, of course, and it takes around 143, 144 horsepower. And the total electric power is about 183, 184 horsepower. Now, it's not as simple a thing as combining the two to get a total output, but the total listed combined output of gasoline and electric is around 204 horsepower and around 335 Newton meters of torque. So, a lot. Is it the highest you could get right now? No, there are some other hybrids out there that push out maybe 10 to 20% more power. But as I've driven this car for a while now, the Honda formula for driving enjoyment has not always been about just what's under the hood, but also the chassis and the rest of the car that make for a driver's car. So yan, right away I'm already telling you what to expect from a car like this, because when you shop for a CR-V or for a Honda, basically I can say that you are not just buying a checklist of items. You are buying a holistic experience of driving enjoyment. And so the first step in that experience is look at the car. Unless I'm mistaken, This generation of the CR-V is the biggest thus far. It is 4,691 millimeters long, 1,866 millimeters wide, and it is 1,681 millimeters tall with a 2,701 millimeter wheelbase. Now, if you look at it from this angle, you might say that it has quite a confident stance. And I would say it is down to the length of the vehicle and the ground clearance, which is 198, so it's substantial, but it doesn't look like it's high. It looks long and wide. So combine that with mahaba yung roofline that it gently slopes down, it actually looks more like a touring wagon. And everybody loves a touring wagon, or what they call a shooting brake. But make no mistake about it, this is still an SUV or a crossover. It's just that it's ang ganda ng proportions niya, so it looks very compact and longer. Hindi siya bulky, it doesn't look unwieldy. That's what I'm saying. So with the RS trim, which is the highest level, so you get this body kit that comes with yung may parang aero kit ka here for the lower part of the bumper. You got a honeycomb lower grille here. Of course, that's all plastic. Got LED headlamps, and these have cornering lamps built in with auto high beam on-off as part of the Honda Sensing Suite. These are 18-inch wheels, and it's wearing Dunlop SP rubber, 60 series, 235 millimeters. So it's a very good spec, and it's quiet, and it's quite grippy and sporty. So may konti kang, ano ba tawag dito? May konting body cladding. May konti kang garnish here. There's may door sills. Nothing extreme, and it's all body color. There's some chrome trim here. There's my window area. If you like chrome, it's great. If you don't like chrome, it's okay lang. But some people, I've heard, have blacked it out para mas stealth yung dating. And now, if you check out these LED tail lamps, so they sweep around to the back and go up. So it's like a organic letter L when you think about it, and then it integrates into the roof spoiler. So may surround siya na black, and so it matches the black spoiler very well. And even the lens of the LED tail lamps, it have a smoke effect. It's not just clear. And you've got a little badge here for the HEV and RS, just to remind you what variant you got. Ang ano ko lang dito with this lower bumper, since it's body color, maybe it would have been better if they blacked this out para mas rugged yung appeal niya. And wag kayong maloko dun sa bezels here for that exhaust. It's not a twin pipe setup. So the single tailpipe is over here. This is just peke lang yan. It's just para to balance out the look. So overall, for the outside, I can't say anything negative about it. It's just a very handsome looking CR-V, if I might say. It's probably the best looking one they've punched out in years. Now let's check out the interior. Stepping inside the CR-V, right away, you get an idea kung saan napupunta yung pera mo. Now, like I mentioned, I've had a lot of experience with CR-Vs, and we actually have a 2008 Gen 2. So I can say that this dashboard has a similar theme that all CR-Vs have had since the first generation, which is a lot of black and gray and soft touch materials where you're actually going to touch your hand, and then more durable materials where you expect it to last you for many years. Now, no joke, yung 2008 the CR-V namin, yung dashboard niya, yung door panels is still solid. It's still like, pa-detail ko lang yun, mukha na siyang bago. So with this treatment, yeah, it's a little bit dark. Well, it is dark. It's not a little bit dark. It's dark, and hindi siya yung very artistically designed. It's very logical, but I can trust that this car, this interior will last you many years, maybe even way past na binenta mo na, maybe down to the second or third owner, matutuwa pa rin siya. So, with this one, so you get some brushed aluminum accents here. Thank God it's not piano black. Oh, spoke too soon. Meron pala dito sa manibela. Ay, nako. But, plus points for the shifter, it is a pistol grip shifter. Hindi siya yung nauuso ngayon yung mga rotary dial lang o yung little knob now that even BMW has resorted to. It's still a traditional shifter. Is it more efficient or is it less efficient than a rotary shifter in terms of space? I don't know, but it feels good to hold a real shifter in your hand. So for driving enthusiasts who are traditional like me, I like that kind of feeling. So, and it has two positions lang for going forward. So you have basic drive, and then you have B, which is very fast. No, it's engine brake, I think. Now, some of the controls are very intuitive. So your electric parking brake is over here. Then you have your auto hold. Magkasunod siya. The button for the hill hold assist is over here. Then you have your drive mode nubbin over here. So it's very logical, very Honda. They don't place it all over the dash na hahanapin mo pa. Or worst, in some of the worst offenders, for example, yung auto hold, nandun pa talaga sa touch, hahanapin mo pa talaga eh. Here, it's where you expect such a switch to be. On the steering wheel, again, that same logic is applied. So you have the usual steering buttons and yung cruise control mo. By the way, it's adaptive cruise control. And you have two dedicated buttons here for your lane keeping assist. Because remember, this has the Honda Sensing Suite. And yung tawag dito, you can set the interval distance where for when you're using your adaptive cruise control, you can have it very conservative. It's like, I don't know, like 15, 20 minutes, like 4 car lengths. You can get it to as close as 2 car lengths. And I've used this on the Skyway, and it's quite effective along with the lane keeping and lane following. You can actually have a very light grip on the wheel, and it will just follow the lane. Basta may lane markers ka. This, sa gitna, is where you access your vents for your dual zone climate control. So you've got real rotary dials here for your aircon. And then, you notice here yung panel na to, yung honeycomb pattern na to. You might think that the whole pattern vents air, but no, actually, for the driver, you only get this one, and of course the left side. This is for the center. This is blank. Sinunod lang, tinuloy lang niya yung pattern. And then, of course, for the passenger. You've got, if you look closely, yung mga markings here for the airbags. This has extensive suite of airbags. You have front, side, curtain, and knee airbags. Let's see. Got a panoramic moonroof. Okay. Itong, you get an extra mirror here by the sunglasses holder, so you can check what's happening sa likod, sa mga pasahero mo sa likod. USB-C, USB-A ports. Got a 12-volt lighters type socket, wireless charging. Of course, the screen here is supports wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. Navigating this one takes a little bit of practice again. So when you go to the home button, buti na lang the home button is a real button, okay? So straightforward lang as you can see, Apple CarPlay, Bluetooth audio. You can see the power flow here. And then malaki yung return button para i-reset mo nasa nga. Here you can access the multi-view camera. Very useful. And you can see that the guidelines follow the orientation of your wheels. Okay. So yung vehicle settings mo is basically just for driver assist system, calibration, driving position. So more or less pag na-set mo na, hindi mo na yung gagalawin eh. Okay. Now another thing that I love about this cockpit, aside from the driving position, which is typical Honda, it's just perfect. You know, yung armrest niya is sakto lang yung height para talagang nakapatang. It's not ganyan, it's not too low. And then the steering wheel has a nice rim, nice to hold, sakto lang yung diameter. It's actually looks like it belongs in a smaller car, in a sports car. And then if you look at the instrument cluster, hindi na napigilan ng Honda, digital na rin siya. But at least they made the instrument cluster analog style pa rin. So you've got the analog setup for the speed and for your wattage, I guess. You don't get a tachometer here, so it shows your power output. And then cycling through the sub menus is easy. You just use this jog dial over here on the right spoke. So again, this dashboard here, so yung top surface is it's called Rhino Skin. So at first it looks kind of cheap or inexpensive, but again, it's really made for durability. And one final thing, I like that they still chose to put the instrument panel in a hood. Hindi siya yung nakapatong na parang smartphone dito like with the newer cars. It's still covered by a hood. So yes, it takes up a bit more space and it looks a bit old school, but it's good for a reason because it protects the screen from glare. So under any light conditions, you can always read what you need at a glance. And since it's the top spec, meron pa siyang head-up display. Can't see it from your vantage point, but I can see it from the driver's vantage point. And of course, you got power adjustable seats with the memory function. So let's check out the back seat. So as I mentioned earlier, the hybrid CR-V is strictly a 5-seater, but it's a roomy 5-seater. So as you can see, plenty of space here for the outboard passenger. And even sa gitna, it's okay. You're slightly elevated and medyo matigas lang yung likod because it has a fold-out armrest with 2 cup holders. The doors, yung cup holders sa doors are large enough to fit an oversized flask. So you get 2 USB-C ports here and then yung aircon vents mo. And you can also recline your seat back. Yeah, reclinable siya. If you notice the upholstery for the RS variant, so it's black with some red stitching. Very nice touch. Okay, now let's check out the back. Power tailgate, of course. So, benefit niya, since it's 5-seater, you get pretty big boot space behind the back seat. So you've got about 580 liters of cargo volume without folding down the seat. Just remember though, this is a hybrid and you do not have a spare tire. You have a flat tire repair kit. Bakit ka walang spare? Because this space here is taken up by the battery. Anyway, Pilipinas naman to, kahit sa kapunta, madali makarat ng vulcanizing. So, just to show you how easy it is to expand the space, all I need to do is pull this latch over here. It's my side, and it folds flat. So in less than a minute, you can configure the car to turn into a hauling wagon. So with that configuration, you've got more than 1,000 liters of cargo volume, and it's reasonably flat. It's not completely flat, of course, pero you can put a lot of golf bags, suitcases inside. Bike, a road bike, might not even need to remove the front tire for this one. So it can haul. Okay. And what is this button? It is a walking away button. What happens? It will go down when you walk away, so it makes sure that you're clear of the area. Cool. So check out this engine bay. Clearly, a lot of the money goes into the drivetrain. So, by the way, nice na may struts yung hood na to. It's not yung cheap the prop rod. The gasoline engine over here. Traction motor over there. And check out gaano kataas yung air intake niya. It's right here. So, lalo na tayo na sa Pilipinas, uso talaga yung mga baha. Placing the air intake here is a very smart engineering decision because if ever kailangan mo lumusong sa baha, syempre wag mo naman gawing submarine yung kotse mo, you have a high probability of making out without a problem. Siguro, if you reach a flood na you have to cross up to the height of your hubs, you'll be fine. Ideally, wag mo naman palampasin para hindi mo kailangan i-check yung kailangan mo pa overhaul yung hubs mo. Pero definitely, we have a very low probability of hydro-locking this engine. Kasi taas ng intake, which is not what can be said for some European cars. Right? Let's drive. Okay, so setting up, getting started with the CR-V, pretty straightforward. Like I said, it's so easy to get that perfect driving position for you. You've got a telescopic adjustable steering column. The seat fits like a glove. Visibility all around, generally good. However, medyo malaki lang talaga yung blind spot dun sa may D-pillars. So, unless you look back, you're gonna have to check for your blind spots or, better yet, turn on your monitor. which is here, the multi-view camera, just so you can see your, check your blind spot. So it's very easy to access. Kailangan lang may muscle memory ka kung nasan yung icon na yon. And then one thing, hindi ko na mention kanina, is how precise all the switches and buttons feel when you movement nila. When I click the shifter, it just very precise and finely machined yung movements. Walang play, walang alog. And the steering, when we're moving now, the steering is just lovely, you know. Uso na ngayon kasi with electric power steering systems is that it's so light and so walang feel. You don't have an idea of what's going on with the road underneath you. But this one with the CR-V, ang ganda ng weight ng steering. It feels like an old school hydraulic system. So very tactile yung sensations mo. And right now it's very quiet because we are using battery power. So right now, there are no switches for you to switch between HEV or EV mode. The computer decides all of that for you. If you look at this graph animation here, it shows that the battery pack is powering the front wheels because the battery is big enough to move the car for a considerable distance before the gasoline engine needs to come into play. Now, so the only noise you're gonna hear right now is the road rumble from the Dunlops. So I like that. Some people want a super whisper quiet cabin. I still prefer. I need to hear a bit of a rumble under the floor, so I have an idea of the available traction. And yes, I have an idea of the available traction. And aside from that, the cabin, the glass is quite thick. So even in traffic, hindi mo maririnig masyadong matitinis na frequencies like sa mga motor na dumadaan sa'yo, yung mga jeepney na rumaratrat. So very, like I said, very relaxing. At the same time, it's a relaxing experience, but at the same time, hindi ka naman aantukin. And it's also engaging. So complementing the steering feel and effort is the ride quality. You know, of course, it's soft. All SUVs right now are soft, but the damping here is quite above the usual in terms of its stout. So you get some sporty, you get a firm feeling. It's almost like driving a BMW when you think about it. Yung medyo controlled yung responses niya, hindi ka lumulutang masyado. Yung rebound niya is very controlled, and yung parang gaganahan ka to take this on some twisty roads, which we are gonna do in a while. So, and then for the braking response, so I'm just gonna have a quick dab on the brakes right now. Yep. So this brakes with some regen braking at play there. So very malakas yung response niya. Yeah. Feels sporty. It's not a performance-focused SUV, but it's sporty enough for most people. So now, since we're still here in some back roads, and I have more or less a full tank of gas, I want to take this on a longer trip. So punta tayo sa may Batangas. Right, so we're just cruising right now in Trece Martires. It's quite a busy day. It's a Wednesday, so it's hump day. So there's a lot of traffic. Just taking it easy. And if you'll notice, I don't know if you can hear it, but it's a very relatively quiet cabin. Aside from the slight rumble of the tires, you can barely hear the thrum of the gasoline engine because it's working right now in concert with the electric motors. But I'm just maintaining an easy 50. So, and ang maganda pa dito, medyo makapal talaga yung windows because some smaller motorcycles are passing me, but you can barely hear them. So that gives you a good idea of the insulation of the car. And all of the driving aids are on right now. So meron siyang front collision mitigation, which is parang emergency braking if it senses that I'm not slowing down fast enough. Blind spot warning. And this even has a blind spot camera. So let's say I signal right. You can see here that the touchscreen immediately shows what's there on my right side, lalo na to cover the blind spots. It doesn't cover the left side, so nope. It only covers the right side because that's typically where it's really hard to see. Then, I've also experienced that in traffic when I'm surrounded and na marami mga dumadaan ng mga pedestrians, mga motorsiklo. Here, medyo hyperactive in sensors, so the blind spot warning will the obstacle detector will beep, 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 gagawin siya when you're surrounded. You can also turn that off if you find it annoying kasi alam mo nang surrounded ka. You don't need to be audibly reminded of that. Alright, so we made it through Cavite traffic. So we're now here in Ternate, going up to Puerto Azul and maybe all the way to the Marine Base. I haven't been here in a while, mainly because I haven't had the occasion to do it. But now since we have a CRV hybrid and we've got nearly a full tank, might as well. And I kept raving about the chassis and the handling and also the smoothness of the powertrain. So let me show you exactly what I mean. Right now we're at about an 8% gradient. This is about a 2-kilometer ascent. Cyclists use this climb a lot for training. But here, I'm not only at part throttle, but as you can see, we're easily accelerating. Although both the gasoline engine and the electric motors are working. And if you can see the gauge, the electric system is at around, it looks like 30% capacity. Ang maganda din dito is, since the gasoline engine is also working, get and appreciate the smoothness of the VTEC engine. I've always loved how VTEC engines sound, and this one, it's a 2-liter. Of course, it has variable valve timing and twin cams. At full throttle, it just sounds so nice. So I'm just gonna go full throttle for a bit here. Sana marinig. That's so nice. I love that snarl. It's just so melodious. It's like really shows yung engineering savvy of Honda. You know, they've been involved in motorsports since forever. For a while, you know, they had some fantastic years in Formula One for many years, and then they shifted back to other forms of motorsport. So sa ngayon, actually, of course they're really doing really well in 2 wheels. And also in 4 wheels, just not in Formula One, I think. Are they?
I think it's Honda.
Oh, okay. Okay, so they also have a presence in most forms of motorsport, and the trickle down factor comes really into play here. Of course, you don't buy a CRV to race, but it's nice to know that on a good enough road with twisties and steep hills and sharp descents, you can have some fun without breaking the law. We're just doing 60 here and the car really feels planted. The suspension is just so solid. It's not doing any excess motions. When I dab the brakes, it just responds right away. Steering is sharp and precise. And really, if it wasn't for this gear position, the B, I would have thought this is a regular CVT or DCT. So I think I may have been mistaken by mentioning that the paddle shifters are to change gears. That is incorrect. The actual purpose of this is to really let you fine-tune the level of regenerative braking. So the paddle shifters here, minus is on the left, plus is on the right. What they do is they let you dial in exactly how much brake regeneration you want to feel. So at maximum regen, it's almost like one pedal driving. So if I step on the throttle hard and bitaw, really get that decelerative sensation. And of course that works to recharge the battery. But if I want to have a more natural feel, I can set the regen braking to the lowest so that if I step the gas and then bitaw, the engine braking that you feel feels more like a normal combustion engine car. So right now I'm just gonna set the regen to around 4.3 to the medium setting. So because we're at a long descent right now, and ang maganda kasi when you're doing this, you go so easy on the actual brakes. I'm not stepping on the brakes right now. So all I'm using to decelerate is using the regen. And aside from slowing down the car, of course, it works to quickly recharge the battery. So here, this is a short, steep hill. I'm just gonna floor it. Let's see the responsiveness from 40. Oh, that's nice. Para ka naka-turbo actually. So I had to let off the gas there kasi I'm afraid baka mag-overshoot na tayo. So the acceleration is really good. Although it's not blindingly fast like some EVs out there. I would say it's fast enough. And once you hit that groove, once you're in the zone, you kind of forget that you're actually in this SUV. If not for the higher driving position, I could quickly forget that I'm in a CRV and actually fool myself into thinking that I am actually in a Civic. That's a compliment, you know? So just gonna have some fun here, put you in the driver's seat perspective. So I'm doing about 80. Could go a little bit faster, wala naman traffic, but you know, ayoko ma-report sa LTO, you know. Naman, hirap na. So we'll just go here. You just want to show that you can have fun at a sensible and responsible speed. So this long stretch is called the Magnetic Hill. Para sa mga siklista, alam nila yun eh. They call it Magnetic Hill because it looks flat. But actually, it's a very long falls flat. It's about a 2% gradient. So, kaya magnetic kasi parang hila ka pababa. Pero here in a car, of course, with decent amount of power, like 200 plus horsepower, you barely feel gravity working. And I'm having a really good time right now between the sound of the engine, the smoothness of the power delivery. I can't really tell whenever it's switching to EV or to HEV mode unless yan. So right now, so you can see there the transfer of power between the gas engine and the electric motors, and then so it's also charging the battery right now. As you can see here, that is my average fuel efficiency from the start of the drive. 16.8, and that's considering ang bagal namin kanina sa may 13 Martires. On the highway, I saw that number climb up to about 18, 19 kilometers per liter. So that's about what you would expect from a hybrid these days. And when you consider that the gasoline part of the engine is actually a 2-liter, that's actually pretty good. Because most of the time, pag 18 to 19 liters, usually you need to rely on a smaller gasoline engine. I love these roads because they allow you to really test the car's suspension and chassis power to weight at speeds that are not crazy fast. We're just doing about 50, but because very tight in turns, it feels faster. So here, you see how grippy the car was? I just glided through the turns without braking. Didn't even need to overshoot or counterflow. Oh, here, may konting preno na tayo dito. So this long S, a little bit of brake. Yep, staying in the lane. Lovely. Strong brakes, so if suddenly mabulaga ka, you have the confidence to quickly slow down. It also helps with the driving position. It's classic Honda, so it's very ergonomically correct. You have just the right distance between the seat and the pedals and the steering wheel. So the car feels like it's wired to your brain. You know, this car, kung sa specs lang kasi, marami na rin siya makaparehas na eh. For cheaper, probably. But it's really hard to duplicate the refinement that you get once you're driving it and pushing it to, let's say, 80% or 90%. 100% nasa track ka na nun. There's mga 80-90% like what we're doing right now. So these are very tight curves. And this is a kind of big car. But because the steering is so good and the chassis is so disciplined and predictable, it feels like a smaller car. And that's always a good thing. Such a nice car. You know, kahit na ang dami ng mga ibang brands dyan that are cheaper or, you know, more, arguably say, sexier when you first look at it, iba pa rin ang appeal ng Honda. So, to be honest, I was a bit cynical coming to this car because 2.6, mahal naman yan for a CR-V. Eh, galing ako sa panahon na below 1 million eh. Of course, may inflation naman, diba? But, you know, when you drive this car, it just all clicks. It just suddenly makes sense. So, I just wish I had 2.6 million to bring my own CR-V home. So, how does it score? For performance, this is a very satisfying drivetrain. Honda has always been known for making driver's cars, and their magic has been really with how they make such precise feeling and sounding small engines, basically. They're not a V8, or they're not really known for making fantastic V8s or V6s, pero pag usapang 4-cylinder, tunog pa lang, alam mo nang it's really fantastic. So between the smoothness, the gasoline engine, and the way that electric motors just kick in seamlessly, hindi mo nahalata eh, from behind the steering wheel. It's just a very rapid and quiet delivery of power. It's just very gratifying, and then you combine that with the brakes and the suspension and the ride quality. It's just sublime. That's the word, sublime. So performance, it is, although of course it is not a sports SUV, it's very sporty and it's very classy, very precise. 9 out of 10. For handling, again, handling goes hand in hand with performance because your chassis must be able to keep up with your powertrain. And with this one, boy, they really did a great job of it. So independent suspension, even though 60 series yung tires, you know, bumabawi siya with the way the suspension is tuned. It doesn't rely on ultra low profile tires that give you that sporty feeling pero nako-compromise naman yung ride quality. With this one, it's very stout and I would say it almost feels like a European car, the way it's tuned for high-speed driving, na so quiet and stable for handling. And then if you take it into turns, you won't be disappointed. Of course, may body roll pa rin yan, but it's mostly flat and the brakes are strong, of course, kasi may konting regenerative braking ka pa rin dyan, kahit paano. For handling, 9 out of 10. For styling, well, I've been talking about the styling kanina pa. I really love the angular look, how it just speaks class. Although, honestly, red isn't really my style. I would go for a white one or a gray one if they had one. But for styling, hindi ka magsisisi dito. And at the risk of sounding like a salesman for Honda, I am not employed by them. Styling gets me 9.5 out of 10. Woo! Utility. Again, Honda has always been known for making the most of their interiors through ingenious engineering with the way they design their seats. So you can really put a lot of stuff in there and they make it very easy for you to configure the seats. Hindi ka magpapawis dyan o mapipilayan ka pa o mapupuli ka pa trying to configure the seats in whatever way you like. Utility, 9 out of 10. Value for money. Nako, medyo yari tayo dito. However way you cut it, 2.6 is a lot of money for a car that is already approaching entry-level luxury car territory. I mean, for 2.6 million, I think you could get a Tesla already, right? If you're into that. Or you could get a BYD Seal. Hindi yung Seal 5, but the Seal, which is their very high-performance sedan. And of course, if you shop around for hybrids and EVs, they're well below 2 million already. Siguro mako-compare mo lang dito is a Toyota RAV4 hybrid, if they actually have it in stock. And even if already shopping at Toyota, wala pa yata 2 million Zenix hybrid eh. So, definitely it has a premium. Alright? So kung value for money ang hinahabol mo sa kotse, I don't think you're gonna go for this. Your rational mind will go, you can get a cheaper car with more or less the same features, but not the same driving enjoyment. So if you're kind of like that, you're a very rational person, maybe you probably, medyo this will go down on your list. But however, if you're looking for a driver-oriented car, medyo tumataas naman yung value for money mo if you place a premium on that, in the driving enjoyment. For value for money, I just have to give it an 8 out of 10. At least hindi 7, di ba? And then, finally, for the overall. So here at Ride By, we rate scores based on the overall feeling of enjoyment and utility that they give us. Hindi lang dahil tumitingin kami dun sa brochure or checklist. Okay, power everything. Okay, safety, ganyan. No. It is a holistic way of appreciating a car and yung appeal niya for people like us. Okay? For overall score, man, 9 out of 10. Would be higher if it was maybe a couple 100,000 lower in price. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Let us know what you think in the comments.